Welcome, BBCers, to episode number 273 of the Broken by Concept podcast, the number one League of Legends SoloQ educational and motivational podcast. Charlie, Curtis, streamer mode, hot topic of the League of Legends community currently. What do we need to discuss today?
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Is that the main thing we're going to talk
That
about?
was the first thing.
First
All
thing.
right. I had other things
Remember,
to
we're a
talk about.
news program. We have to talk about the news of today.
So,
Hot off the press.
I have a tweet here from Shogo that said, okay, but why...
Shogo's a North American challenger 80 carry streamer and player.
He says, okay, but why is it possible to have your name hidden in streamer mode and still see everyone else's? Should be one or the other. If you're hiding yourself, you shouldn't have the privilege of seeing everyone else in the lobby.
We should quickly just define what streamer mode is. So there's levels of streamer mode, but the idea is that you can basically play SoloQ anonymously in the game. Obviously, Riot made a change a couple of years ago where in Champion Select, you can't see everyone else in the named lobby anymore. It just says Merc, Wolf, or whatever for other people. Back in the day, as we boomers like to say, like you could see everyone's name, right? It was apparent who everyone was.
Could you ever see the enemy team's name?
No, you can never see the enemy team's name. No.
Oh, yeah, because then you could look them up and ban their champs.
Yeah,
of
come on,
course.
Nathan. Nathan's misremembering. He needs to get put in a home or something. But back to reality, yeah. So you used to be able to see your teammates. Now you can't see your teammates until you get loaded into the game, so you can't ban people's champs or look each other up or do the whole OPGG thing. Now, even in the game, you can play anonymously. And you can even take it a step further, and you can hide identifying factors like your border or your icon. And it literally, you can make it so you appear as like your champion name, no icon, no border. So you look like a bot. You could be Ash, no skin, no border, no nothing, just Ash, right? And then you can just play the game. And then the third tier of streamer mode is you also can self-inflict that on everyone else. So you as a player cannot see anyone's name in the lobby. You can only see everyone as a bot. And it's just like you're playing anonymous SoloQ. They're people, but you don't know who they are until you exit the game. But in the post-game lobby, everyone's revealed. It's like at the end of a game of like poker or whatever. Everyone gets to turn their cards around and say, here's what I actually had, you know?
Interesting. So, obviously, the client can't actually tell if you're streaming, right? So streamer mode, like it was designed for streamers, like it
was designed because
ghosting,
streamers are obviously very vocal.
Yeah.
They complain about getting ghosted, stream sniped, they like to call it. Obviously, it did happen sometimes, probably blown out of proportion a little bit, but obviously Riot have a interest in appeasing that group of people because they're a very public group of people, so I guess that's why it was made. But everyone uses it.
Yeah,
everyone uses it,
yeah,
right?
I mean, I was queuing up yesterday, and in multiple of my games, it was like probably 75% of people had the mode on, right? I didn't know who they were. I didn't know anything about them. And then, it gets revealed at the end. And I was just kind of thinking, holy moly, you can play a game where no one knows who anyone is. And this is especially shocking for the high elo community, especially in the server like OS, right? We play in, right? Where everyone knows everyone. And I don't know, it's I mean, I think it's a healthy addition in the sense that, I think it's good to have the option if you want it. And I think all of us have been there where we don't want to interact with anyone. We don't want to have to talk to anyone. We don't want anyone to know we're playing. And I do think we've all had experiences where people see your name and they play differently because they see you in that game. And we've all been there as well, where you maybe play a game and you queue up with the same people.
Yep.
And they see your name the second game and they're like, oh, not this guy again. And you can kind of reduce...
There is some potential toxicity tied to that, yeah.
Exactly.
I think this whole conversation is very much rank skewed.
Yes.
I think streamer mode for the large majority of players in other servers, even like below GM, doesn't matter. In Australia, master and above, everyone plays together. So, Australia. So yeah, I think for us, it's like, you can player tendencies come into play a little bit. You can kind of judge how people play, change what you're doing. If you have a certain play style, hiding your ID is probably a good idea. Just win more games, If you're like a new player who spam ganks or an elite player that spam ganks or something, you'd hide your name. Or maybe they won't know that you're the same person, that you're less predictable, right? So there is a competitive edge there that I think you can kind of gain.
I think for me, though, bigger picture is zooming out, right? Because I don't want to make this too big of a deal. Because like you said, it doesn't really apply to the wider player base, in my opinion. But you can see that Riot are really taking action specifically in regards to like toxicity and disruptive behavior, right? The theme has been, Riot's come out, they've spoken about reducing smurfing, banning boosting, just in terms of how readily your account can get flagged for toxic behavior in game. Now they've got the stream mode. All these things are kind of coalescing into this. If you just kind of zoom out for a second, it's like, okay, they really do care about making the player experience a lot more pleasant. And that's kind of the theme over the past few months, at least what I have seen. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think overall high level. I think this change is a little bit different. Like, Charles is like throwing around the word. It's like, you look like a bot. Like, again, are we losing that whole community aspect of the game? Like maybe it's like, that's just part of the experience of like, queuing up with the same person. Like, you're going to start playing a bit different. Like playing is a bit differently because let's say that person didn't play poorly. Like that's a mental hurdle for you to get over, like these are the challenges that we need to face. It's like maybe we're doing too much cushions for the league player base. And we actually, it's like back in my day, like, World War II, like, we had to do the hard yak, what I mean?
Cold lobbies.
Cold lobbies or whatever it is. And now it's like, you're too soft now. You know what I mean? Are we softening the player base?
Potentially. I can definitely see that argument for sure. There's like a bit of an icky feeling around it to me a little bit. It does seem like you're kind of opting out. It's less competitive. You're not putting your
you want to have your
name on the
That's
line.
Right. I like
you
that.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there is something to say. I mean, we all have our actual names. It's like in-game names, so we have it to the nth degree. But yeah, I like to think that when you play SoloQ, you're representing yourself. You're representing your current level of play, and I think you do lose that a little bit. Again, for the average player, especially with someone who struggles with stage 4 issues around maybe their level of play and getting a bit anxious, I think this would massively help them. This is like training wheels, I think, for that.
Is it training wheels or is it a Band-Aid?
It's a Band-Aid.
Because
I'm saying.
You know what I mean? It kind of is, because when you're removing all of that noise, I mean, you could say the same thing about muting all in a way, though, and we recommend muting all.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah.
So, like, I think, I think at the end of the day, League is already an incredibly hard game, and you can use your streamer mode and mute all and not have anything to do with anyone, and the game is still going to be incredibly difficult at the end of the day.
Yep.
I think if you're a purist and, we come from the background of maybe play the game for a long time and we do really enjoy the competitive aspect of the game, and we do feel as though, I think we're probably all more so aligned on the fact that showing your name and having a little bit of, I guess, embracing the human element of the game is probably, even though it's minor, is probably better than nothing. Again, I think it's good to have the option there for people who don't want it, though.
Yeah, it's like, the being anonymous on the internet has its like pros and cons, right? Like, is that welcome in like a competitive environment, video games?
Going on a bit of a tangent here, one of the major problems with League is the fact that it is, or it can be, a very isolating experience. Let's just be real here, right? I think all of us have felt that, it would be more, sometimes it can be more fun to play a game with your friend or know someone else in the game. I mean, all of us, when we play SoloQ, and you, Charlie, you're on the other team, and I'm in the game, or Nathan's in the game, it is objectively more fun, more engaging. There's more intensity.
Yeah, it's a shared experience.
It's a shared experience. And I think that is the thing that SoloQ at the moment, is one of its challenges that it's facing. League is this beautiful game. SoloQ has its kind of benefits in the sense it's brutal environment, super competitive. You got to take max accountability for all your mistakes. It's fast paced and engaging flow state, but it does have that downside of it being, it can be a very isolating experience. And that's where I guess the academies come into play, where it's like a shared experience. We've got the community, but for people that don't have access to, broader communities like the WCL academies, you can easily see how this is now taking it to that next level of it being just a slightly more isolating experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some people in the academy say things like, I can't play with mute all because it just takes the joy out of it. They want to see people's responses, how people are discussing during the game. Like it's like a game of pickup basketball. People are just like,
some people
talking.
like banter.
They're bantering to each other. Yeah, just discussing things that happen, and like that's a big part of it for some people. It's interesting that Nathan was vouching for the community aspect, because this man hasn't typed a word since 2014. He hasn't said anything in his life.
But I still get involved, I'm still there, still getting involved on the Rift with everyone.
Little blue things.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And so, I guess it's something that, it doesn't really have, you can't have it all, right? League you can't have this beautiful SoloQ competitive experience while it being a team thing with multiple, it just can't exist. They can't coexist. So it'll be interesting to see how what the future and the direction of the game is in that sense. Is it going to become more and more and more of an isolating experience, or are Riot going to do things to try and make it more engaging for multiple people? I don't know.
I think generally speaking, the high elo community is pretty pissed. that this is happening, by the way.
Really? Is that
Yeah,
what the
a lot of people are pretty outspoken. Like, some streamers like it, some streamers dislike it. Natty Nat has been pretty, because I watch Natty Nat's YouTube videos sometimes. They're pretty entertaining. And he talks about how he turns it off, and he's an OTP, and he turns it off.
Wow.
What's his reasoning?
He just thinks it's like, I mean, I don't think he's very he hasn't articulated his reasoning a whole lot, but he just doesn't, he thinks it takes the competitiveness out of things. And he wants to have like player tendencies come into play as a jungler, especially when you play against the same junglers every time. He wants people's paths to be like kind of known and like work around it. I mean, Nathan, you often talk about this, your journey playing against Shern like many, many years ago, like probably a decade ago now. How you kind of knew each other's pathing and Shern exploited you as an individual.
Exact time to kill me on my red buff. Or
exactly right. But if you had no name, he wouldn't be able to do that.
No,
so, I mean, again, I'm talking from a very high level perspective right now, but
it's like the 1%ers.
Yeah, for that reason, I think people don't like it as much. And they also just want to know like who people are. I think they just really like that whole social aspect. Like, I'm playing with this guy. What MMR is this guy? Blah, blah, blah. They want things to make sense because they like to OPGG the game and find out who's off roll, who's on roll. You can't do that anymore. If everyone's names are hidden, you know.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys think. I had an interesting discussion with someone in the daily chat talking about learning versus improving, and something that I don't think we kind of vocalize all that well, but is there nonetheless, is this idea that if someone has learning objectives and if someone's actively trying to improve at the game, it's pretty well understood for coaches that they're not really going to be climbing while they're improving at learning objectives, right? So you're typically learning and you're in a phase of just training and you're kind of developing muscle memory, you're learning new things and getting uncomfortable. And then when that learning has kind of solidified and crystallized and you actually have the muscle memory, then you can actually execute upon that learning to get LP. Now, generally in the wider player base, we kind of lump that all together, right? You focus on learning objectives and eventually you're going to get LP. But if you break that down, it's actually two phases. There is a phase of learning that particular skill and there's a phase of executing upon that particular skill. And the challenge I think a lot of people are facing is like, they don't know when that thing is going to, that switch is going to flick. At what moment is it going to go from the training phase of like developing muscle memory to actually, when can I actually use this to get LP? Because that's ultimately what people want. People want to climb, people want to get LP. And I think that lack of measurability and the lack of them being able to be like, it's like in WoW, like an MMO. It's like, I got to this level and now I'm at this level. I unlocked this ability and now I can do that. It doesn't really work that way.
It's like that analogy you use a lot, Curtis. You talk about the, actually getting LP and climbing is about the circuit, everything clicking, right? So yeah, I learned one skill, but nothing's really changing in my games because I need that in combination with that one as well. And
that's like the cherry on top, right? The cherry on top is that you can have a learning objective. You can learn a particular skill, but that may not be enough to even get you LP. And that doesn't mean you didn't learn anything, but you need other skills on top of that to actually turn that into a win.
Yeah, going back to like learning one individual skill and why that kind of tanks your LP a little bit or stifles your your like LP gains for time being. It's because once you start improving on something, this is just what I've noticed. Once you start improving on one thing, you have to do it consciously. And that can fuck with your intuition.
Yeah.
You stop, like most people are very intuitive in the way they play. And once you start focusing on one thing very consciously, even if we give like out of game learning objectives, people still, if you tell them to focus on something, it's going to affect the way they play and focus in the game, right? And every second that you're not spending trying to literally kill their nexus and you're instead trying to develop a skill does drastically reduce your ability to kill the nexus. It's just, we're only humans. As Nathan loves to say, we can only think of, seven things at once or something. Yeah. I think that's changed.
In our working memory.
Working memory, yeah.
Yes. That's why we need the subconscious. We need to build up the muscle memory.
Yeah. So I mean, I totally agree. It's like oscillating between a period of learning and limit testing and a period of execution is very important. Oftentimes, if your learning objective is around something to do with execution, whether you're working on skirmishing or you're working on trading in lane or something like this, you can actually just tone down your limit testing very intentionally and only do what you're capable of and almost oscillate intentionally between the execution phase and the limit testing phase.
Because is that like just you guys speaking transparently, right? Yeah. Like if, let's say, for example, you guys had recognized there's one glaringly obvious problem in your gameplay, right? It could be something that's really basic that you've just got complacent with. It could be a new thing that you're trying to integrate. Okay, I've got two questions. First of all, when you focus on this thing, is this something like you just said there where you focus on it in a little bit and then you kind of taper off and then come back to it? Like you like, oscillate between executing what you currently know and then learning this new thing? And then we'll start with that question first, and I have another follow-up question. So how do you practically work on it? Do you like to just really, really hardcore focus on it in one period of time, or do you like to oscillate between execution and then I'll come back to that later?
I probably think about the time where I did the whole 3-camp invading thing with my Rek'Sai, like learning that. I hardcore focus on that to the point where I said I'll literally, if it didn't go correctly, I mentally check out of the game, end the review, and then that's sort of my takeaway. But I will say, I think about me like improving a lot of my skills. I think even just the act for a lot of the players are just identified. This is something that I need to work on in my area. Even if you don't spend like an amazing amount of time with it, it's like things like slowly connect over time. It's just like the reps. Maybe it's just because I've played the game for a lot and like players play the game so much. Eventually these things click. Like it's not like you're like doing a test and like, you're like, doing in math class or whatever. And like, you have like chapters and you're like, we're going to learn how to do these equations. And then you move to the next one. Like League just doesn't work that way. So I think that just the fact of like jungle trackings is something that exists. I think a lot of players just like meander around the game and like don't really, even if they have like a, just the fact of just having an idea of
like
something
now they know it exists
to generally focus on, even if you're not like making it like a big deal or like in a review. I think that's just like an important aspect of improving the league.
What do you think, Charles?
I think it's different based on whether what I've identified is a mistake that I need to stamp out or a missed opportunity thing. Like if I want to generally level up in a certain area, like again, I'll just bring up the example of like just skirmishing, right? If let's say I want to improve on specifically one ability in a skirmishing and that ability usage thing, I'll intentionally enter like limit test mode around that, and that will definitely result in like less performance at a cost because I'm trying to improve on that one thing. And I'll probably oscillate a little bit between execution and learning when it comes to missed opportunities. But when it comes to mistakes, if I'm noticing that something is losing me games, I will just do it.
You have to hardcore.
You need to just fucking focus everything out. And
That's right.
I'm not stopping
I don't care
working on this one thing
else.
until I stop seeing that thing happen. So yeah, I think that's how I would handle a mistake. Is you need to be very blunt.
Yeah, you sort of go through phases. Like when you start when you feel like you're not making those like absolute glaring game losing, like ridiculous mistakes that you've made in the past, then it's like, the missed opportunities aspect of League is very important for sure.
The missed opportunities part is actually more fun as well.
It is more fun.
I'm playing at my level. That's where I am. I'm constantly, I'm plateaued. That's when the missed opportunities come into play. When you're really plateaued and it's like, okay, wow, if I want to improve and get to the next rank, I don't just need to fix what's on my screen. I need to bring new shit onto my screen.
Right, so it's almost as if there's like two phases of your journey, right? You're like kind of reactively solving problems in a way that's like, I'm making glaringly obvious mistakes. I'm going to solve these like big glaringly obvious problems. Once I've done all that and cleaned up that mess, now I can actually think proactively about my journey holistically. Okay, I must be missing opportunities somewhere in this game.
So, yes, exactly
things
right.
like, how do I close out this game quicker?
Right.
How do I give the enemy zero opportunities to get back into this game?
That's like
things like
optimizing.
communication, because what I think it's the difference between improving your floor and your ceiling. Improving your floor is stamping out the mistakes, and that's what gets you to your level. But if you want to raise your level, then that's when you need to improve your ceiling.
But the big question though, when people hear this conversation is, how do you know? Like, how are you measuring this? Like, how do you know when to move on? Because we're all talking about, I'm going to work on this and I'm focused on it and then I move on. What is your...
I get this question all the time, man.
What do you say?
It's just a feeling. It's literally just a feeling. Like, you know you better than other people know you. Go get some help from coaching if you want other people to look at specifically what you want to focus on. But if you can record a game of you playing, set a learning objective for yourself, actively review and work on that for 2 weeks, and then watch another game of you playing and side by side them.
It should be quite
you
obvious.
You can see it, but I don't even think you need to do that. Just feel it. Just genuinely feel it. Like, you will notice the mistakes happening less. You will, if you actually are actively reviewing your games and not just reviewing them in the sense of, I'm going to look at the last game losing team fight and why we lost the game, and you're actually like looking at the game with some curiosity and thinking about how you contributed, you'll notice shit.
I reckon where the place where that question comes from, Curtis, is they're not getting LP, so they actually don't think they can improve on it. But they actually have, and it's fine.
They're on the right track.
Yeah, they're on the right track.
LP is just a lagging indicator. You won't see the LP go up until
which is where everyone loses their minds.
Yes, that's why they
everyone
always
loses,
give
and
up.
that's where those questions sort of come into play.
Yeah.
Like, how do I
And
know
they
if
pivot,
I've actually gone better over the
So it's
skill?
not that they can't feel their improvement. They do feel their improvement, but it's
just not leading
There is another
to-
feeling there that's overriding that. And
Exactly
There's
right.
this burning feeling that I'm not getting LP right now, so that's more painful than this other positive of me feeling like I've got better at this thing.
Absolutely, 100%.
You have to ignore that surface level feeling
Yeah.
of why aren't I seeing the Nexus explode? You have to
Right.
just ignore that. Just put that away for now. You've already identified what you need to work on. It's like the hardest part to do is like the middle part. You know, it's like most people can look at their gameplay and identify something to focus on. They're not going to identify the best thing, but they'll identify something. But then actually working on that for a period of time that's required to get better, no one gets through that phase.
They don't. They really don't.
But I will say here, I had a conversation with an MLA member this morning, and he said he's been mega focusing on like side laning, right? He had a lot. I think he spoke to Tim about side laning, and this was a player that traditionally had overgrouped, right?
Yep.
And he came to the daily chat this morning. He said, "Curtis, I've been focusing on side laning for the past 2 weeks, and I feel like I'm over focusing on it." And he's been hyper fixating on side laning to the point where there's moments where like he might have grouped in the past, but he's like, "I'm just going to only side lane."
Yeah.
And I said,
That's the limit test thing. Awesome. I think
good.
that's
I
great.
think
no,
that's
but
great.
what I said though, but I think he's gone to the extreme. And,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
in his mind, his only way to learn side laning is by forcing side laning. And I actually flipped the switch in his mind. I said, okay, now that you are aware of the possibility of side laning at particular moments, you can actually group. But now when you overgroup, you're going to have a
be
nagging
super
thing.
obvious.
Yes.
Well, it's going to be a nagging thing in the back of your head saying, maybe I should have been side laning here. Whereas before, when you were overgrouping,
Wasn't even thinking
there
about
wasn't
that.
even
Yeah.
there wasn't an option of like, oh, maybe I could have side lane. So you don't have to overforce side laning to learn when to side lane. You can learn that while grouping now as well. And that's what you were saying before, how like
As long as you're aware.
as long as you're aware of the fact that there is an extra possibility,
concept.
that there is a concept there, that alone in of itself will facilitate learning.
You'll test out shit in the game and, you know, like, you know.
So I think people
Maybe good. I don't know. To play devil's advocate a bit, I think a lot of people do need to bash their head
Yeah.
against the wall of the
But
concept.
I think there's a limit though, man. Like I really
Yeah.
do. I think there is like a point where it's like you bash your head for a bit, you feel it out, you have some painful experiences.
Yes.
But then there is a point where it's like you're just getting diminishing returns because you're not actually being thoughtful about how you're bashing your head
Yeah,
on the
that's what me. I got fully the diminishing returns with my free
Yeah.
camping bay thing, and I realize all the time I don't even need to do that to
You don't
win
need to
games.
do
I can
that.
just full clear. But when those games are, that's like a very high percentage, very clean invade because I over indexed because I absolutely went
but
insane.
now you know it's an
over it.
option.
It's an option.
You also disproved it.
what?
The 3 camping.
Yeah, that too, because I did it so much,
Yeah, that's
right?
correct.
But that's the only way I could do that,
Yeah,
Curtis. So
yeah,
it's because
yeah.
I
I see
limit
what you
tested the
mean.
shit out of it.
Because I think like
I went through every single possible scenario.
yeah, I often tell people like because everyone's confused about like mid gamers AD. They lane bot for too long. I tell them just get on the map, just feel what it's like. You know, I don't really care specifically, but just rotate mid and just feel it out and just do that for a little bit. And you don't have to do it for a crazy amount of time. Literally a few games is fine. You don't have to ruin your whole journey doing it. But I think those few games of just like throwing the game to the wind, like who cares about which
Yeah.
next
It's so
explodes? Let's just go
important.
in.
I
and
love
It is
those
important.
games.
Let's
You
just
have
cook.
to.
That's how I learned, dude. That's
You
how
know?
anytime I've gotten results, I didn't give a fuck about the LP and I just had a crack.
Yeah.
We get this question a lot is like, how do I regain confidence? How do I feel better about my performance? And, all that stuff about their relationship with how they view themselves on the Rift. Like there's a lot of people, right? What percentage would you guys say are affected significantly by stage 4 issues?
Oh god.
Roughly.
That's an interesting question.
To the point,
100.
Yeah.
At some point or
Yeah.
another, 100%.
right? It's basically everyone, and
Yeah.
I would say to a severe degree, probably a large amount, 50% probably have a large. It's like
Like
a
it's
At
really
one time or
serious
another.
stage
Yes. I think
4.
everyone goes through it at some point in their journey,
Yeah.
for sure. Very few people have a clean journey.
Yeah, and the point that I'm trying to make here, what I see is that people have these crazy, let's say, toxic thoughts in a game. They make a mistake, right? They die. The internal monologue comes in.
Yep.
I'm a piece of shit. How could I make that? Where's my jungle? Insert XYZ narrative. They feel shit about themselves. They lose that game. They lose confidence. Okay, boom. That happens. Then they say, "But Curtis, help me now. How do I regain my confidence? How do I fix this?" The problem is that you don't fix it by going through that cycle 1,000 times and then fixing the problem. You don't address it at the end. You address the way you address that problem is you insert the toolkit in to prevent that cycle from completing. So it's like, okay, there's a negative experience in the game. Instead of that whole kind of event happening, right, I'm a piece of, you insert the tool, and the tool is, okay, I am getting angry. All right. Instead of now blaming my jungler or calling myself a piece of shit, I might. There's many toolkits. Take a few deep breaths. Ask what's next. Recalibrate the game state. Or even internally say, okay, I don't really know what happened there. I need to take a look at that. I'll review that later. These are all tools, right, that you can use in your toolkit. So therefore, you're disrupting that cycle of getting to the point where you're feeling shit about yourself. You see what I mean? Rather than trying to solve it at the end, you're disrupting the cycle.
Yeah, it's the second your brain starts going haywire and like betraying you, you just like slap yourself.
Yeah.
Back to focus. Like, come on, your brain starts talking again on the next test. Start back in the game. Just sit at the game. Just keep going like that, you know?
And it's hard to do.
So
It's incredibly hard to do. If you've played the game for years and years and years, and you've done that for years and years and years, it's incredibly hard to do. But it's like, I feel as though sometimes people get themselves into such a massive rut, and they feel as though the solution to sageful problems is something that happens after the game. And yeah, there are things you do after the game, but like the bulk of it is done in the game to prevent yourself from even getting into that mental state in the first place.
Definitely. I love being in the game. Solve your problems on the Rift.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's very practical.
Definitely.
Boot camp weekend coming up this Saturday,
Solving
Sunday.
problems on the Rift.
There is going to be lots of problems solved on the Rift. So people might be asking, what is boot camp weekend? Basically, we have 10 blocks or time slots. You get 3 games with a coach, a WTL trained official coach, or it could be us. And we VOD review. We're there with you every single game, solving the problems. We can talk about champion stuff, whatever. It's basically, you have a coach for 3 hours, basically. There's still tickets available. Head over to, it will be a link in the description, or go to our website, weteachleague.com/bootcamp. And in terms of like, what problems the bootcamp solves for a lot of people shows people what playing with high intensity looks like. You've paid for a ticket. This is it. I've got a coach. I've got someone watching my games. We find a lot of people unlock this part of them that they always had, but they just realized I'm just pissing away SoloQ games a lot of the time.
I think it shows the reality of people's level of play.
Yes,
right?
it really shows.
No hiding.
There's
This
no
is how
hiding.
you're playing in an average play block. You're not cherry picking VODs. We're seeing how it is, and it really uncovers really what people's level of play actually is, and what they actually need to focus on.
When I think about it, it's a crazy analogy. it's like a makeover from like a 90s movie.
It is,
like,
isn't it?
It's like the nerdy girl with the glasses librarian. Take the glasses off, let down your hair. Like that's the real you in the Rift when Nathan's like live coaching you and you're dropping a 20 bomb. That's what's going on.
What's next? Speed, momentum, tempo,
exactly.
Violence.
as we can quote our Dr. Disrespect. So, looking forward to that on the big weekend. We do it basically once a month currently. So if you miss out on this time, tickets sold out, we will be doing another boot camp.
2 episodes ago, we spoke about our learnings from the previous boot camp. If you want to hear a bit more about that before buying, 271.
I think it was episode 271, yeah.
Yeah.
School post, Curtis.
School post. All right. So let me move it up here. So basically, there was a question from Serenity the other day asking, how do you detect a losing match? And I'm sure you guys have had this question. How do I know that this was just an auto loss? Right? And, the question basically says, this may prove how low eel I am, but I just have come across the idea that many times some games are not that winnable, and it's a part of the league journey. But that being said, is there any way that you guys can actually determine that a match was actually unwinnable, or does that just come with time and knowledge? And basically my response here was, unfortunately, that skill is out of the pay grade of the average SoloQ player. Once you get to around high master, maybe low grandmaster, you can start to develop the ability to correctly identify whether or not that game was truly winnable or not. Until then, you try your best, take your learnings, and then, regardless of the difficulty of the game, you just play it out and do what you can and assume every game was winnable.
Yes, that's exactly what my response would be. The healthy way to do it is go to, we talk a lot about extremes in today's podcast.
Yeah.
Just view it as this game was 100% winnable. And then, whether that's true or not, it develops this idea of max accountability and like, how can I perfect my team fighting, my resets, all the fundamentals. It's just a really important headspace to get into.
But you don't want to get too hung up on that.
No, you can't get too hung up on that.
Because I think that's where, I think there are people that take that mentality and get a lot of success with it, and it can be really, really effective. There are some people that take that mentality and get really beat down by it because it's like, well, if this game is winnable and I'm still losing...
And I'm playing my absolute best, that's
exactly
it.
right.
Yeah, because you can play perfectly and still lose.
Exactly right.
But that being said, not many people do play perfectly.
Not
like
even close. There's still lots of
both sides of the advice
Yeah.
are relevant to different people at different
Yes.
times in the journey, and that's what makes it tough, I guess. Yeah.
So I think for people who are trying to measure how winnable, because what they're really asking is, how do I not get too angry? Like, how do I determine how angry I get about a game, or how do I determine how much effort I put into the review? Was this and
that's a healthy question some people ask. There's the other side of the coin as well, though, where people ask that question because they want to like blame externals.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right.
Well.
Yeah. I think maybe the word just winnable. I hate it when people say, like, is the game winnable? All you need to know is the concept in League is that one player can have significant impact in a game or to the result of the game. Like, as long as you are aware, it's like, I can be doing always more, whether it wins or losses. That's like the headspace.
This is the thing that this year I would say it's really come to fruition. This whole idea that people simply don't know. And I did a video on Champion Mastery. I think actually on one of our recent BBC episodes about like, there are levels to the game that you can't know or logically understand until you feel it.
Yeah.
And so we can sit here around this table and talk about, oh my God, every game is winnable and there's all these things that you can do. But like, people watching this, if you've never really developed Champion Mastery, or you haven't really tried to get into the depths of the game, it's really, really hard to understand that and to actually latch onto that idea.
These are the invisible things.
They're invisible things. Like, you can, like,
we're not talking about getting 20 kill bombs or
it's
10
just
kill
one
bombs.
decision. Like, it's like you might be playing Talia mid and you see one opportunity to like counter gank a side lane play because you're mega aware of the map state and you protect your weak side and get a bounty.
Yep.
One decision, whole game's completely different. Or, like, an AD carry can just play weak side in one moment. Don't let the enemy
drop a minion.
Don't die.
Dropping one minion. The amount of games I've seen like this,
Just one decision can change the entire game.
The interesting thing about this, though, is like that question, was this game winnable? I think a healthier way to frame the question is, was this game winnable for me? Because we know you could drop a better player into that game and they'd win the game, for the, again, we're talking like for the average League of Legends player here. And that's where like the whole champion mastery thing comes into play. Like, if you get the best player in the world on that champion, drop them in. Bloody oath, they're going to win that game. You know what I mean? But was it winnable for that player? Like, what standard should you hold for yourself? Because you don't want to hold yourself to a crazy high standard, but you do want to hold yourself to a high standard.
You do want to a high standard, yeah.
It's interesting.
Because then people will say, like, well, that's bad. What's the point of that? Where's the improvement there, Charles? Because you're just saying, like, oh, well, that's just my level of play.
No, because
I can't win this game for me.
No, because that level of play for that individual is probably enough for them to incrementally climb at the game. They don't need to climb by winning every game.
But then the question, you can even ask the question, is it even a good question to ask at all? Right? Because like realistically,
no, they should be comfortable playing really well and losing and moving on. That should be fine.
But do you guys even right now in your own SoloQ think in terms of like winnable and like, do you think about?
I'm so locked in at the moment of the decision, making the most optimal decision at that second. I couldn't be thinking about win or loss at all.
No, but like even in the review, are you thinking about like when you're reviewing your?
No,
mistakes,
I'm not. I'm so locked in on the decision, even in the game and in the review of like what was the optimal way I could have played this.
I don't really think of like.
I never think about win or loss.
I'm not coming into the review thinking like it's not like I'm trying to like make a cake of how to win the game. I'm kind of like problem solving specific moments, whether or not they're gonna win or lose the game. I'm actually not. Sometimes I will like. I'm alive.
Yeah, sometimes it's important to like. If you're looking at your gameplay and you're thinking, oh, this looks really good or really clean League of Legends, then you need to zoom, and you still lose the game. Then you need to zoom out, like, why didn't I win this game? And then you start looking about, like, team comps and, like, fights and, like, because then you're trying to make sense of the game at a higher level, right?
That's, like...
That's the next step.
That's the next step. But that's, like, very, very
high level.
That's very
high level. Very rare.
For, like, 95% of your journey, you're not even really thinking about winning the game. You're trying to reactively problem solve scenarios. It's like, this moment felt really uncomfortable. Why did this moment feel so uncomfortable? Whether or not that won or lost the game, you know what I mean? Like, like I think most people don't think like that.
No, they literally just win, or they're just like, how could I win this game, or how did I not lose that game? It's just too surface level.
It's too surface level.
Yeah, usually you just want to look at the VOD. I mean, and just find moments that felt like shit, where you exited Universe A and accidentally moved into Universe B, and then just take ownership of that.
And whether that B or A, either of them led to the win.
Yeah, maybe we ended in Universe fucking F.
Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I had a game like this like yesterday where I did think what Nathan was thinking in terms of team comp. Like I was playing Caitlyn Nami. We stomped the game bot, and we had a Nidalee jungle. We stomping the game. It all looked beautiful. The third dragon rolls around. The classic Caitlyn Nidalee comp in SoloQ. Just can't kill the goddamn Nexus. Right. Throw the game at the third dragon, lose the game.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it made sense. I can take accountability for the skirmishes in the mid game that kind of led to that position. But even then, I can apply some broader context to that game and understand. Well, our composition was very hard to execute. Like you can just move on. You know,
Yeah.
it kind of allows you to not be sad and angry and confused about the result of the game,
Yes.
and also take accountability. Ideally, you're kind of doing a bit of both. You know what I mean? It's interesting. SoloQ is dirty.
It's
man.
crazy
So
how many
dirty.
hula hoops like we're going through mentally, like to get to.
There's a lot of doublethink.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of doublethink. Yeah.
It's like you're simultaneously thinking, how do I solve this problem to get better? But I kind of want to win, but
Yeah, I'm taking accountability, but I'm not acknowledging that I can't take accountability for everything.
Yeah.
But then I also want to try to take
I
accountability.
want to
for
win, but
everything.
I'm okay with not winning. It's like there's a lot going on.
I don't want to think
there.
about my teammates, but I should acknowledge when like there are some things that happen out of my control. There's some crazy levels of
Even
doublethink
the
in the
team
game.
comp stuff. It's like, okay, like my team comp may not be that good, but I can still work with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many levels in which you're thinking through many, many different lenses.
I think that's what makes a good game. That's if all these things weren't in the game, then you're just playing like a really simple. It's like a little solved game. It's like a Rubik's Cube or whatever, right? Like it's just too surface level.
Just a quick tangent here, actually.
Rubik's, have you done a Rubik's Cube before?
I actually don't know how to Rubik's Cube, but I'm sure I don't need to go through some double things and mental hurdles to
I
stage for
think they're
issues.
universally regarded as quite difficult. Rubik's Cubes, aren't they? Like,
Okay, maybe I'm completely.
you should have picked a simpler toy.
I thought.
What's a simple checkers?
I think you picked the hardest toy.
Is that right?
The Rubik's Cube might be the hardest toy, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
I thought everyone's figured it out. Or
Maybe they
something.
have, I don't know.
What's harder, yo-yo or Rubik's Cube?
I think there's blokes that can solve a Rubik's Cube in like 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
So then, yeah.
you can be challenger at Rubik's Cube.
Anyway, if there's any professional Rubik's,
I've derailed.
if there's any professional Rubik's Cube players, let us know in the comments.
I was just going to say last thing on this topic. One of the things that makes this game so beautiful is that, or simultaneously confusing, is that you can... I kind of use the analogy of a skill tree and like some crazy MMO, or like even Path of Exile, the skill trees. Every single player is going to have a super, super unique skill tree, right? But the problem is that if you go down a super unique skill tree journey, where you play Heimerdinger top and you never group and you have this super unique thing and super unique skills, at some point along in the journey, you're likely going to have to learn skills, right, that you haven't even remotely touched before. So if you learn the game in a kind of mainstream way where you play relatively meta champions, you follow pretty generic game plans, you do all that, you're going to have a pretty diversified kind of like skill tree. You're going to be tapping into most things. You're going to be able to understand most concepts. But the beauty of League is that you can go very, very, very far with an incredibly unique skill tree.
You can just go all the way on like that red side or
Yeah.
whatever. Like Yasuo or Katarina mains, like just really good mechanics fighting and just
And that can
everything
get
else.
you can get to like high diamond like
Yeah.
that. You can get to diamond like that. Very, you see that every single day. And I think that's the cool thing about League is like there's so many ways to express yourself on the Rift, which is pretty cool.
All right, mailbag time. Away we go. Welcome back for Nathan's mailbag. Jingle, jingle, jingle song. Alrighty then. Our first question here comes from Austin. The title of this email is Learning from Unclear Situations. Hey, Nathan, Curtis, and Charlie. My name's Austin. I've been in the Jungle Academy for about 2 months now and absolutely love it. I've played since Season 3, but only started taking the game seriously this year, where my friends formed a competitive team for low-budget LCS and needed a jungler. I've since fallen in love with the role. It's the best. I do agree with you, Austin. I climbed from Iron 2 to Gold 2 on Pantheon, 100 games, hit a plateau, joined the academy, and now main Lilia, 70 games in. I am still Gold, but have felt massive improvement since joining WTL. My question is about how to best learn and improve when faced with uncertainty. I still struggle with knowing when to contest or concede neutral objectives. I try to apply the red light, green light framework, but many situations feel grey. So my real question is this. What's the best way to learn when you don't know the right answer in-game? Should I contest every objective until I develop a feel for it, or play safe and concede when unsure? The same applies to things like unclear gank conditions or invading enemy camps. How do I hone my instincts in these grey moments? Thanks for all you do. Love the podcast and the academy.
You should answer
You're
first.
the
Nathan.
jungler.
Yeah, so for a jungler,
As a jungler.
and you guys can talk to me about other things, but most of the game, there shouldn't really be grey moments. It should be very clear.
Whoa.
Red, very clear.
There's no amber light.
Good play, high percentage play. For examples, Enemy jungler, you're anticipating if they're going to be ganking, then the correct play is going to be to counter ganking. Or you're going to be like, okay, I can't even bother fighting that 3v3 or whatever it is. I'm going to go trade on the other side of the map. Like, jungle is a lot of the time, quite a binary role in terms of understanding, what a good gank and a bad gank is, high percentages. So you need to continue with that uncertainty, find out what information you missed. League of Legends is an information-based game. And then you'll know, then you're slowly going to have enough of those situations where then you're going to be like, okay, I can sort of see that situation before. A lot of the time, where the uncertainty comes into is like, fights and stuff. It comes down to like, maybe a newer player like this. They just don't know what every champion in the game does. So that's the uncertainty. They don't really know if they're going to win fights or they're going to be able to contest objectives or whatever. But let's say a really clear example would be I have a Draven Thresh bot lane against a Yumi, that was a bad example. No one plays Yumi anymore. Like I don't know, what's a weaker...
what are you looking for?
Like a Lulu Aphelios or whatever, right? My Lulu Aphelios doesn't have priority, but I have a Draven Thresh. So like I can brute force my way into the river. Like I'm sort of saying that, that's a situation that actually is like black and white, like really good for you. But on, it looks like a gray area. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you mean. Okay, so I would agree and disagree. I think there are moments in the game that are black and white, and you could very easily look at it and be like, okay, there's a principle that can make this very neat and tidy. It's either a green light or red light, right?
Or it's high percentage.
Or it's high percentage, low percentage. But I would say there's still a lot of moments in the game that are like 60-40 or 55-45.
There is, but there's not. Those may not be. They're not that important, I don't think. They're not as important as the high percentage plays. Climbing League and good League of Legends is high percentage. If you want to play it in the long run, it's high percentage things. Yes, there is those grey areas in the moments, but like don't really. I think actually don't even really focus on those areas. Those are not the problems in your gameplay.
Can I get specific? Okay, so I played a lot of Lilia, right? Let me just literally run through what I would think about when it comes to Dragon. I'll be hyper specific for you. So I would just think about this. Firstly, numbers advantages. When you're trying to contest an objective, do you have equal numbers as the enemy? I would say Lilia is a champion. You actually thrive in fights. So as long as you have even numbers with your enemy, you should probably be willing to fight it, if other conditions are met as well. The next thing I think about is, are you spiked? Do you have do you have items? Are you individually strong? Don't give a fuck about whether your teammates are strong yet. Just think, am I a strong Lilia, and do I have the same amount of numbers as the enemy team? You can then start to think about more complex stuff like, does my teammates have their ultis? Do I have my ulti? That's another piece of information.
Yeah, so everything you're listing here, Charles, these are the things that people do that I see in my reviews that they don't even hit these boxes.
Yeah, so
these are very clear.
Yes.
These are the things that change games.
Of course. If you're ticking all these boxes, then you can make it binary. It's just when both forces are kind of matched, and let's say everyone has every ulti, I'm spiked, but the enemy are also strong, but maybe the enemy have a fed top laner who's roaming down, but my AD's strong, but he's lagging behind a little bit, and maybe we don't have perfect vision in the river, then I think it does become a bit grey.
Yeah, it is a grey area.
And then you know what you do? You just fucking look at yourself, and you think, am I strong enough to fight this? I'm going to play the fight really well.
Yes.
And then you think, do I think I can do that? And you just have a feeling. Like,
yeah. So I would agree with that, but the only thing I would add on top of that is that if you are in the game... and you don't know the answer, you just have to do it and then go back and be like, what variable was I missing? Because a lot of what we just said there in terms of like, okay, do I have a numbers advantage? Was I strong and all this stuff? A lot of the time you don't have, if you're in that moment having to ask all those questions, you're probably already too late.
Yeah, it's impossible.
You've already fucked up, right? So the reality in that exact moment, specific moment, you just make a decision.
Yeah.
Just make a
I guess
decision.
I'm thinking of the lull state prior to the objective. I'm not thinking about like as I'm in the river kind of looking at the thing, you know.
But like for this player, I'm assuming he's in some of these scenarios. It's like, I don't know what to do. And maybe it was a lull. And that may be the learning. The learning in the post game would be, I didn't use my lull states to see what was happening in my lanes, or I didn't use my lull states to identify if I was even strong or not, right? Yep. Maybe they don't even know their champion's reference points. I don't know. But like League is a game where you just have to make decisions.
Yep.
And even if that gets you killed, it is what it is. And then as long as you're trying to tie it back to what Nathan was saying, Charlie was saying in terms of like the actual principles and variables, then that is how you learn. Because it is League a game, or like especially for jungle, but League more broadly is a game of information.
Yes.
And you just got to figure out what piece of information did you not gather or process.
I would also say that if you're playing Lilia in gold, you probably don't need to solve advanced calculus. No. If you've got your flash, you've bought your items, you've pinged the objective in advance, and you've got ulti, Go. Have a blast. Honestly, you could probably contest most things and carry a lot of fights with the Q Flash R combo.
And if you don't have any of those things, then what you could do as well is just do your camps, but also start pushing silence in the mid game.
Yeah,
or whatever.
start
Just
pushing some waves.
Start zipping around the map, force them to react.
Steal
right?
a quadrant, go hit a T2 tower a bit,
That's right. Don't just, I hate when I see Lilia players standing in a river, throwing E's, missing E's face first, and they have no flash, and they're not striking the items. Just leave the fight. Let your team rot. Nathan, let them rot, Mott.
It's fucking gutter balls.
But yeah, as Curtis said, the best way to learn League is you need to be unapologetic with the decisions. Just make a goddamn decision, and then figure out how could I have been high percentage or what did I miss? Because the way you climb, and especially the way I teach jungle, it's all about high percentage.
And they're in the Jungle Academy, so if you don't know, just put in the VOD questions.
That's right.
Yep, Parbu will have a look.
Okay, next question here comes from Raz. The title of this email is Improvement Question and Random Thoughts. Hello, Curtis, Charlie, Nathan. My name is Raz. I have one main question and one sort of side question. I've been listening to the podcast for about 7 months, having severe problems with doing any of the work I just listened, and thought, I will definitely do that, but never do. I was ambled for it this time. I kept thinking once I reach Diamond, I will just begin, and obviously this is self-sabotaging behavior and counterintuitive to improvement, but I just couldn't get myself to begin a process. You know, like the listeners like that were like, yeah, it sounds like such a good the movie quote of the week. You know, I think about Fight Club when he talks about like self-improvement is like mental masturbation. It's like a lot. So there is, I know, a significant portion. I'm calling out some people in the audience that listen to this podcast. Like, that's so awesome. And then they go in and like they flame their teammates, or they play like 10 game blocks. I mean, we have that people literally in our academies that like just play 10 games. They know it's not good, but like it's not for me. Or no, they know it's for them, but they just can't help themselves. I mean,
the self-help industry is supported by these people.
That's right,
to a large degree. You know,
we're trying to change that in the League community. We want people to be practitioners that listen to the podcast.
Yes, execute.
Yeah. I don't be there. Everyone watch some recipe videos on YouTube. Not making the food, just to relate to people for a second. It does happen, obviously.
About a month ago, I finally realized I was doing nothing with all the theory. I was learning, so I decided to just get on with it. Reviewed every single game, playing 2-3 blocks every day. However, I saw limited success. And yes, I know I didn't do it for long enough. That's the first thing I'm going to say for it to work. What I found was that, first of all, I had no clue what I was doing in the review. And secondly, I was not focused and playing with intensity while in my blocks. I decided to put the reviews on hold and instead start a spreadsheet tracking intensity and also how well I dealt with tilting circumstances of each game. My thought process was that if I never played with intensity and spent most games typing instead of focus, and it was almost like I was making an end of review mistake before I even queued up. Now, I did see some success, and I have hit Diamond, sitting currently Diamond 4, 75 LP as a mid laner. However, now that I've resumed my game reviewing, I feel again clueless, and I can't help but feel that sticking to the review process would have been better in the long run. The question is basically, is there any merit to put in a hold on reviewing in favor of focusing out of game issues, or have I slowed down my progress?
So what does he mean exactly by focusing on out-of-game issues?
So what he's done, correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, my interpretation of this email is he tried reviewing. He thought that made him play worse. He stopped reviewing, but started playing with intensity and in blocks. So he started playing in blocks, played with more intensity, and tracked his intensity in his spreadsheet.
That's right.
That got him from Emerald to Diamond, so awesome work. Now he wants to know, like, should I even start reviewing again? Right?
But reviewing and playing with intensity are two different things, so it doesn't really make sense to me. How can...
Yeah, that's why he's said, I'm not going to review. I'm just going to play with intensity.
I see.
Because he couldn't bring himself to review.
Couldn't do both.
Yeah, because he didn't see the results immediately.
Okay.
And he's asking like,
what's the question at the end?
So the question at the end was,
it's like should he?
The question is basically, is there any merit to put in a hold on reviewing in favor of focusing out of game issues, or have I slowed down my process?
I focus on out of game issues.
So he focused on the typing. He's clearly someone who's typed a shit ton.
I see.
He stopped typing. He couldn't work on reviewing his in-game gameplay and stop typing. So all he did was stop typing.
Okay.
And he's saying, was that a good idea or not?
I mean, okay, so just cutting all the fat. Working on stage 4 issues is always number one.
Yes.
Right? There's a reason
You've
it's
got to
the
clean
bottom
the
of the
sweats,
pyramid.
Which is like out of game issues, playing with intensity, relationship with the game,
Self-sabotage.
If for you that requires all of your attention and focus, and you can't do that while reviewing, then sure, that has to be done, right? But once you've got a handle, there's no such thing as solving stage 4 issues. We all
That's
have
right,
stage 4
yeah,
issues,
they're always
right?
happening.
Like they're always there forever. The reality is that you can just handle them. That right, they don't get out of control where they're not going to completely self-sabotage your journey. Once you've got a handle on them, you do need to start reviewing to some degree. Now, some people would say, but my friend got to Master Tier and he's never reviewed. You don't have to review, but it will significantly speed up your journey. And just keep it simple. Right? I think a lot of people who listen to the podcast, they're scared to just do shit small reviews. But you should start with shit small reviews. Review 2 deaths. Great. Start there. I think reviewing is one of those things that it's so intimidating for people.
Well, because people think that they're masters of it, instantly. It's what's the point of me doing it if I'm not actually good at this skill?
It's because they conflate reviewing with coaching sessions. Again, they think reviewing is you have to spend 35 minutes looking at your own game, breaking down everything.
Analyze, write a thesis.
Or figure out how to win the game. You're not even figuring out how to win the game.
Getting the epic pen out, drawing over your own minions and stuff just in our Skool community, free Skool community, we have a guide on reviewing made by me and Curtis. How to review your deaths to start with, how to get value from the review process, how to start your own process. If you're not already in the Skool community, I've forgotten the name now, Raz?
Raz, yeah.
Do that. That's how to review. We've got a guide
Exactly
there. And
right.
Curtis's YouTube video called How to Review.
Yes.
For Dummies or something, I think it's called.
and I think as well, you're not going to get, like you always say, Charles, before, LP is a lagging indicator of what you're doing. So you're not just going to randomly get results in...
Well, Raz literally said, I know I didn't do this for long enough. So you know the answer. You literally said it in the email. So yes, you are hindering your process by not learning to review now. Yes.
Yeah, God damn it, Raz. You actually spent
think
7
about
months
long term
to write the email. You just start, should I start now?
Raz knows the answer.
He does. He
knows
literally
the
wrote
answer.
it.
He knows the answer. He's just trying to find this.
It's long term for short term.
We're not gonna placate to you, Raz.
Yeah,
Get into the details.
And the reality is that you could just sit there pissing away games, thousands of games of Diamond, and slowly inch your way to Master Tier. It all depends on the speed of the climb at the end of the day. If you want to do it fast, slow, medium, it's all on you, really. We've given you the formula. How you use it is on you, really.
All right, next question here comes from Hugh J. The title of this email is Mailbag Question.
Very creative, Mr. Jackman. Thank you.
Hey guys, I've played League of Legends on and off for the past few years. My friends all played it growing up. I used to work at a company with ties to LoL Esports, so I watch a lot. But throughout the past few years I've played it, I've always played mostly enchanters, Seraphine support. I wanted to make the switch to laning and grinding SoloQ over this past year, so I've begun playing mid with a longer term goal to hit silver by the end of the year. One thing I've found in mid is that in low elo, iron bronze, there's often times when my lane opponent will play something that is incredibly off-roll. I watch enough LCS and LCK to generally know where each champ is supposed to be played, and it'll usually throw me off. I've found myself losing to lanes like Misfortune mid, Zeri mid, Quinn mid, Briar mid, Urgot mid, Garen mid, etc., etc. I know there's some part of it that's matchup unfamiliarity. Yasuo unfamiliarity. Yasuo might be evil, but at least he's the evil I know, and that's some part of contextually. A lot of big words in this email. Each champ has different strengths, weaknesses that make them more or less suited to mid. But I think in general, my big ask is what makes a mid laner? It's not like Misfortune is a rocket science champ, but what makes playing her or any ADC top laner in mid unviable.
Mod? We're playing mod?
Charlie, go easy on it.
Sorry.
You're making me laugh. I'm not laughing at you, Nathan. I'm laughing at Charlie.
Charles' reaction to me reading goddamn mailbag emails. He's very judgmental.
Yeah, I am very judgmental. Because I expect a lot. I'm a professional speaker.
I am a professional speaker. I'm meant to be anyway. Yeah. So anyway, Yasuo is evil apparently.
Yep.
But they're used to the evil of Yasuo. And to that extent, what advice would you give to someone in low elo on how to deal with these weird, unorthodox picks? Either from a mentality perspective or a set of actionables I can do to get familiar laning against champs I don't see very often. Thanks for the podcast at work over the past year. I know learning the lane with Talia is something you guys don't advise, but coming from a pretty wide variety of competitive esports scenes, your guys' mentality and informational content is unparalleled throughout the entire sphere. It's good stuff, and it's helped me wrap my head around some really complex concepts.
So first of all, I love the question, what makes a mid lane champion?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a really good question because it's basic, but it's actually very complex. So very simply, mid is a very versatile role. You can play a lot of things in mid lane, but just generally, you know, it's a short lane. So champions that don't require a long lane thrive, right? So champions that need that length to run people down typically have a little bit less success than they would in maybe top.
That's like, you know, that's why champs like Xerath and Ziggs and these champs are able to play in the mid lane because they can be safe.
They're a bit safer.
And also they're like shorter trades, right?
Shorter trades. Yep, exactly right. I would also say that just the archetype, there's just a lot of AD elsewhere. So the archetype of mid is that there's just a lot of AP champions is a general theme. Not always, but it is a general theme. I would say that you can play mid many different ways. You can play to scale into mid game and play for team fights. You can play to shove and move and roam. You can play to scale and play side lane. There is no real cookie cutter formula. That's why you see so many different champs in mid lane. So that's the first part of the question. Don't get too caught up in what makes a mid laner. You can play a lot of things in mid lane, right? I could get really technical, but I don't think it's worth you really understanding that right now. Secondly, okay, what he actually listed there was actually only 2 archetypes. He listed 80 carries and he listed bruisers, right? That's really it. You listed, I think it was MF, Quinn, there was another 80 carry.
Darius,
and then there was some
Zeri.
Are you going to say, Curtis, I'm predicting what you're going to say. You're going to say you're learning how to play against that type of archetype of champion rather than think of it as individual champions.
So versus an 80 carry mid, very simply, 80 carry mids are very strong early. They actually have a very strong level, entire 1 to 6. They will beat most mages in the game. If you're playing a mage, you'll get shit on levels 1 to 6 for the most part, right? It's a good general framework. And you will beat 80 carries post level 7 onwards. That's the general framework that you want to think. And when you're versing bruisers, sit there, farm, and scale. Don't interact. They're gonna, you know, for the most part, again, same thing. Get to your lost chapter, and then you're going to be fine. What I typically see with bronze and silver and iron players, they walk up to MF level 1 or a Quinn mid or whatever the hell it might be, or Draven mid, and they'll get annihilated, right? Because their auto attacks do a lot of damage. Or bruisers, they walk up to them, try to fight them. Renekton dashes on their face. Garen runs at them, and they get sliced and diced. So just keep your distance, farm and interact, use your range, and get to lost chapter level 7. You're going to be all good.
I love this because whenever I get matchup questions about like weird matchups or even some common matchups, honestly, the first thing you always check is, are you trying to fight them too much? Like, I swear to God, every time I see a matchup question in VOD Questions channel or a DM, it's like, you're just trading with them.
Why are you trading?
Like, they panic. It's like fight or flight. But people, for some reason, in League of Legends go to the fight.
Yeah.
You know, because they think, why are you mid? You're not a mid laner. I should be able to kill you kind of thing.
Your champion's like shit. It's not meant to be here. I should be able to destroy you.
But like my reaction when I do something weird in the bot lane is just like, okay, I'm just
going
to
to outscale.
I'm just going to just like, whatever, just okay, mate.
Just get to the mid game and then just play your reference points.
Yeah.
It's kind of what, there was a thing we got a while ago. It's like, there's a reason these champions are not meta and they're not kind of designed for that role. And that people expect that reason is going to be completely apparent from day dot, like level 1.
Let them fall over themselves.
Yes. That's the thing. That's
Misfortune is going to have to side lane eventually.
Yes.
That's not going to be very pleasant for a team. Maybe she picked Misfortune and now it's a full AD comp. That player is very immobile.
Yeah.
Just play to your champion's reference points.
Yes.
Right? If you're a Talia main, a massive part of your reference point is to get to your level 7 lost chapter.
Yeah.
Level 9. And then once you get your level 9, you're going to be shoving and moving. That's fine. Play to your reference points. Get good at your champion. That's the most important thing.
Agreed.
All right, next question here comes from Spinnaker. The title of this email is Reaching Masters in Teamfight Tactics using BBC. Hello, Charlie, Curtis, and Nathan. I'm a long-time listener of the podcast and just wanted to write in about my experience using BBC to help me reach master in teamfight tactics. I started listening to the podcast back in 2023 when some of my friends and I had formed a clash team that we used as a motivational vehicle to get better at League. This was pretty casual, but we were serious about improving, and the podcast stuck with me even after the team dissolved from scheduling conflicts and lack of practice time. I peaked in Gold 1, but I use a lot of the BBC tips and tricks that have lasted even when I play League today, like feeling way more confident in my 3 main top lane champs, Pantheon, Shen, Urgot. to this day because I put in the reps on them. Cut to July of this year, and I've been casually playing ranked TFT for a few years now, and I'm feeling motivated to do some ranked grinding for the new rank set. Now 2 months later, I've just hit Masters for the first time, and this is largely due to the BBC podcast and applying a lot of your processes to the TFT. Here's a list of some podcast takeaways and how I applied them to an entirely different game. Number 1, treat every game as a learning experience. For every single game I played, I wrote down one lesson I learned about why I won or why I lost. Really look in for that end of review moment. I also did this when reviewing Pro VODs. Over time, these lessons would stick with me and help me make correct decisions in games. This is how I apply the growth mindset. I think that's all we need to see. That's done. That's it. End of review. I love the... see how simple that is? Just
one learning from every game.
One reason, one thing I learned about why I won or lost. Just keep it really simple.
Imagine if you took one learning from every game and then played a lot of games.
It just compounds. Compounds. It's like compounding an investment. 3 blocks. Started playing ranked in games in blocks unless I was in a flow state.
3 blocks?
If I had an evening where I was just going to play TFT, I started going for runs and cooking meals in between blocks to make my mind and body feel better. I literally have not run in years, but now I'm running at least once a week and feel like I am taking my love for the game into the rest of my life, and it's fucking awesome.
Wow.
Number 3, flow states. Personally, I call this seeing the matrix. There are just some days of TFT where my mental is in the right place and I'm so locked in that the mental stack becomes second nature and I can quickly deduce what decisions in the game are correct ones to make. I'm positioning correctly. I'm not missing units in the shop. I am playing my strongest board and see what line I need to take to reach top 4. If I'm seeing the matrix, I'll play until I take a loss because I recognize that I'm legitimately a stronger player in this moment than other players at my rank. Number 4, mental stack studying. This is anything that will help me internalize what is strong on the current patch so I don't have to think about it so much during the game. Recognizing strong comps, slammable items, and augments without having to pull up data on my second monitor on the fly is very valuable and is an easy way to reduce the mental load. Recently, you talked about signal versus noise, and I use this idea to help me quickly determine game direction, signposts such as what comps the opponents are angling toward. For a while, I would literally write down what comp I thought each enemy was going to play based on their early items and units. But now I can just keep track of these signals because I've built up the capacity to internalize it after so much practice. Number 5, reviewing games. I can't say I do this for every single one of my games. I'm sorry. But I will always do this for games where the win or loss seems trivial and I need to think more about what I could have done differently. Usually I am taking away very valuable lessons from any game I feel needs a review, where in the past these games felt incomprehensible with no learnings when I didn't review. And 6, the last one, celebrating the process rather than the wins. For me, this one is simple. Nothing feels better than being at Diamond Elo and consistently playing well, even if I'm not getting first places. Being able to recognize how I can turn a 5th place into a 4th place, or even an 8th place into a 7th, and consistently placing higher and higher in my games just feels so good. I don't care if my LP is moving slowly, I'm just happy to be playing consistently instead of sloppy. Yesterday I queued up at Diamond 2, 0 LP, and 6 games later I was Masters. And it felt like the perfect culmination of everything I've learned from the BBC over the years. I could tell from the first game that I was seeing the matrix and everything just clicked. I got 5 first places and felt like I was playing against gold ELO players, even though they were all Diamond Plus. When I got the last game, I didn't even stop to think about the fact that I only needed to place 3rd place to hit Masters. I simply maintained the flow state and got another first. Generally, I never thought I would be here in Masters in TFT when I was peaking gold 1 in League, so thank you so much for giving me many of the tools I needed to get here. My question to you all is, do you ever feel like inspired to make your motivational mindset to another game outside of Summoner's Rift? And if you had to pick another game to go full Broken by Concept on, which game would you all pick and how well do you think you see your methodology transferring?
Ooh, that's a fun question.
Well, first of all, that's an awesome post.
Yeah, those 6 things are like beautiful summary of the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Nailed everything, I think. Just ticking all the boxes. That's what happens when you tick the boxes, I guess.
I mean, I think the big thing is just put in much effort.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really stands out, right? He didn't do anything special individually, but he literally took notes.
It's the shit he didn't do as well, by the way. It's all the self-sabotage he avoided along the way. Like, not queuing up for that extra game, not like just playing 2 blocks back to back with each other, like just avoiding mistakes.
That's right. It's a
Staying
huge part of your
consistent.
journey.
It's easy to do that for like a week, but staying consistent with that is the hard part. Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for writing that. That's a really, really. I mean, these emails are so important for the community to hear.
Fantastic. Really
because
important.
it's like this is what happens if you actually apply the learnings, right? We can talk all you want, but just hearing people get results from applying what we talk about
for a
is
long period of time.
amazing.
Unlike what Raz said before, like I'm gonna review for a week, and then like that's the difference.
Raz has just been thrown under the bus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, Raz.
So what was his question? His question was, if you had to pick another game to apply the process in, what would it be? Is that for us?
Well, we actually did try TFT a little bit. We actually
you guys played TFT.
we did play TFT.
But okay, let's say you could use any type of game to apply the BBC. You got FPSs, you got these.
Well, let's just throw MOBAs out. Like obviously, an easy transition might be like something like a Dota or something, right?
I think fighting games.
You think fighting games?
Straight up, I think fighting games.
Yeah.
Because fighting games is, think about it. You have, automatically, obviously, taking accountability. You can't really blame anything else apart from the game itself. People do blame the game, right? Like things being OP and stuff, but taking max accountability. But having a process, because you can actually drill things. So like that would take your process to the next level. You can have such a sophisticated process and review process that I think, fighting games would be a no-brainer for me.
I think any of those 1v1 games is actually easy mode for the process to some degree, right? With League of Legends, you have to like jump through a lot of hoops to convince yourself to do it. If you're playing fighting games, like my mind initially went to chess, which is not really a game, but I guess online chess, that would be a lot of fun to commit time to that. I think the process would just like cut and paste so easily onto that game because like the engine even helps you review your own games. You can easily identify mistakes and anything with like a 1v1 game where you can queue up for a match, I think, and there's like puzzles in chess as well, so you can identify areas of weakness and like drill. I think League of Legends lacks drills.
Yes.
So yeah, mine would be chess.
I think it's I think it's like any game. A lot of Broken by Concept is just getting good at things like crafts. Like maybe I would say what the hardest one might be. I think of like FPSs. Maybe it's just because I'm not good at FPS or like I haven't really played it to a high level. You're the FPS guy.
FPSs are objectively hard, I think.
Because it's sort of like
harder.
Is there more
than a fighting game?
Is there more natural talent? Is that in
no?
Nathan wants an excuse for not being very good.
I do. Yeah, I'm just like letting the talent. I'm just not talented at clicking in heads.
FPSs are the outlier.
Well, okay, so I would say that. Like League, there's a team element to it, right? So it's not a 1v1. Any 1v1 game, it's inherently going to be significantly easier. Look, there are drills in FPSs, that's right? True. You can drill aim for the most part, right? There's a lot of tactics. You can understand the maps. There's a lot of you can practice specific like flashes and talking Counter-Strike or something like that. Even Valorant, you can like practice getting all of your utility down exactly the way you want it. So I guess drills would come into play. It's just harder than relative to a fighting game because there's just more people involved. There's more variables involved. There's more chaos. Whereas in fighting games, everything's replicable. Or chess, most things are pretty replicable, right? But I wouldn't say FPSs are any harder than a MOBA. I think MOBA is the hardest by far.
It is.
What about an FPS with no classes? Because like I played a bit of Overwatch and I was able to like use champ mastery and stuff. So just get very good at my own stuff and not really know too much even about like kind of what's going on, but just get good at playing my hero. And that gets you pretty far. But like in CS, for example, where there's no classes, doesn't that like confuse matters a bit?
My take on FPS is like the clean FPS is like Counter-Strike, right? It's more human. Yeah. It's more like human versus human. It's like that's when natural tendencies and mind games really, really come into play because I don't have some crazy ability that's it's going to kind of, you have to think more probably strategically in some sense in games like Overwatch and Val, I would say, because like you're using a lot of utility, but in games
a lot of interactions.
A lot of interactions, exactly right. Whereas in Counter-Strike, I think there's more human in a way where it's like you need to understand psychology a little bit more. I would say you need to understand the tendencies of players a little bit more, and the games feel a little bit more like human to human, at least for me personally. So I would say that does pose challenges depending on your personality type, but because there are less variables, some people may argue that it's easier in that sense. So I think it depends on your personality type. So yeah, it's hard to say really.
All right, well there you go. The BBC Project. What's that game? The new game, Project 2KX or something like that?
Yeah, I think it has a new name, doesn't it? Oh no, the Riot Games fighting game.
Yeah, the Riot Games fighting game. Maybe we'll start a podcast soon. Coming soon.
Yeah, nah.
All right, that wraps up
Got a Mortal Kombat podcast.
episode. I love
Pretty good at
Mortal Kombat,
Sub-Zero,
dude.
if I do say so
Sub-Zero.
myself.
Yes.
Sub-Zero podcast only.
Sub-Zero only podcast.
Good work, guys. 3-block process. Remember, boot camp this weekend. Don't miss out. Last opportunity to get tickets over the next couple of days. Link in the description below. Head to our website, weteachleague.com/bootcamp. We'll see you guys on our next episode.